Hello everyone, welcome to our Miao Meets sharing event. I am Ruoxuan and I am the host for today. Now, let's welcome all the speakers to come up. This is Zhihe.
Okay, hello everyone.
And this is Joy.
Hello everyone.
Today, we are going to share the experience of Zhihe from Anglo-Chinese School Independent and Joy Chen from Methodist Girls School. 大家晚上好，欢迎来到我们的 Miao Meets 分享会。我是Ruoxuan，是今天的主持人。今天我们很高兴邀请了2位同学，来自英华自主的Zhihe和美仪美女校的陈盼熙同学，他们将为我们带来精彩的分享。But before we start, let me put out some rules for today's meeting. Please be respectful in the live chat room. Audiences with inappropriate comments will be removed from the live event. If you have any questions, feel free to type it out in the live chat. We will answer them during the Q&A session. 在开始之前，我先宣布一下今天的直播规则。请注意您在直播的言辞。言语不当的观众将被直播间屏蔽，并禁止观看。如果您有问题，可以在直播间聊天室留言，我们会在稍后的 Q&A 环节来回答您的提问。Also, let me introduce what we will be covering in the sharing. We will be talking about the different CCAs each school offers, the school's unique courses and special events. We will also be talking about each school's facilities and the exam format for their respective schools. 今天我们在分享会主要从这几个方面来谈，比如学校的 CCA、特色课程与活动、学校设施以及考试评估制度。First up, we will do some self-introductions. As I have mentioned before, I am Ruoxuan from Raffles Girls Secondary School. I was previously from Nanhua Primary School, and I like reading, listening to music, gaming, and sports. My CCA is table tennis. 首先，请允许我做个自我介绍。我是Ruoxuan，今年在来佛市女中读中一。我小学就读于南华小学。平时我喜欢阅读、听音乐、打游戏和运动。在学校，我的 CCA 是乒乓球。First up, we have Zhihe from Anglo-Chinese School Independent to share his experience in his secondary school. He was previously from Henry Park Primary School, and his hobbies are reading, debate, gaming, and drone flying. His CCA is rugby and scouts. 首先，为我们分享的是来自英华自主的Zhihe。他小学就读于恒利小学。他的爱好是阅读、辩论、打游戏和飞无人机。他的 CCA 是橄榄球和童子军。Now, let's welcome Zhihe to share his presentation.
Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to my sharing. I'm Zhihe from ACSI, And so today I'll be sharing more about the school. So first of all, I'll be doing an introduction. I'll be talking about the reasons to go to ACSI, the IB program, the CCAs offered there, what I enjoyed at ACSI, some of the challenges that you might face and how to counter them. And I will also suggest some good reads as well as end it off with a summary. Okay, so to start, hello, my name is Zhihe. My primary school is Henry Park Primary School, and now currently my secondary school is ACSI. So my hobbies are reading, debate, gaming, drone flying, as well as rugby. So here are some of my achievements. So I was the top three in class from primary one to primary six consecutively. I also stood the top 10 PSLE performance at HPPS. I was part of the prefect executive committee. So currently I'm an assistant prefect as well as a class committee member in ACSI. And this year I earned best in higher Chinese 2021. So now I'll be sharing more about the reasons to join ACSI. So first of all is the school spirit because ACSI is more than a school. It's a family with students from 7 schools. So there's ACS Primary, ACS Junior, ACS Independent, ACS Barker Road, ACS International, ACJC, and ACS Jakarta, which is in Indonesia. So there's quite a lot of school events. For example, Year One Discovery Camp, Honors Day, Cultural Camp, Sports Day, and there's also organizations such as the Parent Support Group, which is PSG for short. So the events that I said, they need you to cheer and participate in, and now they are online due to COVID. So, but nonetheless, it's still holiday at a chair, and if you have school spirit, if you're willing to have school spirit, do join ACSI. Second of all, ACSI places an emphasis on both courseworks and exams because for year ones, there's only end of year exams and there isn't mid-year exams. So 30% to 50% of the grade is determined by courseworks with long deadlines. These are reliant on teamwork, your presentation skills, your time management, and if you're like the group leader, you have to have a good sense of leadership and you have to be able to split the tasks evenly between your group members. So the purpose of these courseworks is to connect lessons to future IBDP, which is International Baccalaureate Diploma Program, and their materials taught because subjects they are marked externally by qualified professional markers from Cambridge, for example, as well as internally. So you have to be able to learn flexibly instead of having exams all the time. And adding on to that, there isn't much comparing of grades between students. And as long as you organize your time decently enough, you wouldn't feel yourself swamped with courseworks, with homework, yeah, and with all your responsibilities. So that's what is quite important at ACSI, and that you have to have a good sense of time management, and that you have to be able to counter both courseworks and exams. Okay, reason number three is ACSI is best if you have no tuitions or tuitions that are on weekends because they require you to have two CCAs, which is one sports or one clubs or one society or one performing arts as well as one UG. So this will take up a lot of time on weekdays, sorry. And if you go for boys brigade, they are on weekends, Saturdays. So these may clash with your tuitions and may be very troublesome canceling them. So you have to be able, you have to. Okay, I would suggest that you don't have any tuitions, but if you do, just keep them on weekends and don't go for BB, or unless if you don't have tuitions. So reason number four is because ACSI has frequent breaks and short lessons during the school hours. So one 20-minute break, there will be one 20-minute break almost every day, and there will be a 40-minute recess every day. Okay, now I'll be talking about the lessons. So every day there will be 40 minutes to 1 hour lessons. And for science practicals, so there's two. One is life science, one is physical science. It will be 1 hour and 20 minutes. Usually it's 40 minutes, but some lessons may go up to 1 hour. Okay, so now I'll be sharing more about the IB program. So ACSI has two different programs. Number one, we have the GCE O levels program. So it's the 4 years. You stay in ACSI for 4 years. Then depending on your O level scores, you go to either JC for 2 years or Poly for 3 years. for IB diploma program, it will be 6 years in ACSI. So the mission for IB is that for year 1 to year 4, it is every axion. We call ACSI students here axions. So they are scholar, officer, a gentleman for God and humanity. And for year 5 to year 6, you notice that it's more towards the international stage because year 1 to year 4 it's IP, and year 5 to year 6 is IB. Okay, so the IB program is graded based on 1 to 7 points, with 7 being the highest. So there are 6 subject tested, as well as the theory of knowledge, which is kind of like philosophy, extended essay, as well as creativity activity service, which is kind of like your values and action projects. So each of these is 1 mark, and 6 subjects will be each 7 marks. So number 1, you have language and literature. You have to choose from these 6 categories. So language and literature, for example, language arts or literature. Second of all is another language, for example, French, Japanese, etc. And all of these, do take note that all of these subjects, they have standard level and higher. And for French, I'm not sure for the rest of the languages. For French, it is there is a basic level, like a beginner level for French. And for the third one is humanities, which is history or geography. Number 4 is sciences, which is chemistry, physics, or biology. The fifth one is maths, which is standard or higher. There's also extended maths, which is slightly harder, and there's more materials taught. And last but not least is the arts, music, etc. Or you can choose another subject within the categories. So why IB? Because IB, I think is quite, it's more towards the international stage because it's in its name, International Baccalaureate Diploma Program. And like I said before, it places emphasis on internal and external marking, as well as your presentation skills for courseworks, your time management for your submission for like, for example, TOK, extended essay, as well as it also tests your philosophy, so which is tested in the theory of knowledge, as well as your critical thinking. So furthermore, you also have the freedom to choose your best or favorite subjects in each category. And there's also an international diploma. The international diploma given to you after you finish your 6 years is applicable for all most international universities, if I'm not wrong. So O level to IBDP. Don't despair if your PSLE scores do not allow you to go for IBDP. It when you transition from year 1 to year 2 to year 3, sorry, in ACSI, you actually have a chance to be upgraded to IBDP from O level. If I'm not wrong, you do not have to go for any sorts of examinations or interviews, but you have to have these 3 criterias met. However, these are, I assume them because there really isn't a clear guideline given, but so basically you have to have no demerit points. I'll be explaining this later, but like in our school we have a demerit point system. So if the demerit point, okay, if you get a demerit point, all your awards given to you will be cancelled. And then also you have to have excellent results and also show exemplary behavior and character. Um, these are pretty generalized. So if you really want to know more to transition from O level to IBDP, you can consider asking your O level teacher once you join ACSI. And there's also another possibility, which is going from other schools to O level. So you have a chance to transfer to ACSI O level. I'm not sure if you can go to IB, but when you transition from year 1 to year 2 to year 3, as well as year 4 to year 5. So um, it's quite I think so it's the exams is quite hard, but if you really want to if you put your mind to it, you will usually be accepted into ACSI. So this is provided that you have registered for the exams. It's usually in the early August period, and you also have to pass the entrance exams, which is usually during early November. So another thing to note is that the best way, if you go from like other school and then after that you want to go to ACSI's IBDP program, the best route would be to go for the entrance exam from year 1 to year 2, register for it and then pass it. Then after that, from when you're going from year 2 to year 3, you get to have a chance to transfer to IBDP. It's quite tedious, the process, entire selection process and stuff. But if you try, usually you'll make it. So now I'll be sharing more about the CCAs offered at ACSI. So in ACSI, we have sports and games, uniform groups, performing arts, clubs and societies, as well as interest groups. Do know that for interest groups, I didn't really add it in because there's only one. It's the like, Christianity interest group. So yeah, just note that if you have interest for such CCA, you can choose it after you join ACSI. Okay, so here are the CCAs offered at ACSI. So there's quite a lot, so I won't be reading through them, but like you can take this 10 seconds time to read through and see whether you have interest for some of them. Okay, now we'll move on to clubs and societies. As usual, I'll give you 10 seconds to read through and see whether you have interest for such clubs and societies. Okay, let's move on. So, like I said earlier, you need to have two CCs. So, okay, yeah, you need to have two CCs. So, number one is one club, societies, sports, or performing arts, as well as one UG. So, here are the UGs offered in ACSI. So, I think some of you are already in such UGs, but you can also consider joining them again in ACSI. Okay, let's move on. So, okay, the CCA selection process. So, during year one discovery camp, this is a annual camp that's happening for all year ones that join ACSI in the first week of school. So, in fact, I will be participating in it as a prefect to facilitate the classes. So, there is a program called Sports Bazaar, or at least it was called so in 2021. So you get to take part in different sports activities where the coaches will select you. And once you are chosen, your name and class will be noted down. And do note that there are also some other stuff that they will record, for example, your weight or your height. So there will also be a preference form for you to fill out for UG. For UG, there isn't a selection in Discovery Camp. And you also have another preference form for your accepted sports, clubs, societies, or performing arts after the camp for you to choose. However, do note that if you really if you are lucky or you didn't get selected by any of the sports clubs, societies, or performing arts, you can choose some that do not require selection. For example, photography club, etc. Okay, so now I'll be sharing about my CCA. So my CCA number one is rugby. My training consists of 2.4 kilometer runs, practice games, and footwork. The game is usually about fitness, discipline, your flexibility, your teamwork, as well as your resilience. And so far, since 1997, we've won 51 national championships. My other CCA is Scouts, and it's one of the more chill UGs because you get to play badminton, dodgeball during the sessions, as well as it's also one of the CCAs with the least amounts of marching. So if you're like me and you don't really want to remember those marching words like that they shout, that they yell at you every time, and those are Malay, so then you can consider joining Scouts or SJB because both is one of those that both are those UGs that um, do not do much of the marching and just like go play games during the sessions. So now I'll be sharing more about what I enjoy at ACSI. At ACSI there's aircon, so it's arguably one of the best unique features of ACSI. There is the library, the SAC, which is our canteen, our classrooms and labs, all air conditioned. And the facilities there, there's also quite a lot of facilities at ACSI. There's the Olympic-sized pool, the AstroTurf, which is our artificial football field, as well as the rugby field. We also have two auditoriums, one with about 3,000 capacity, roughly the whole school, two multi-purpose halls, as well as our space, which is a chill area of beanbags and a football table. So our space was open this year. Um, it's like a chill ACS zone. So you can see here there's a football table, there's beanbags, and there's also designated rooms for each houses, which I will explain later. There we also have a library with comics and reference books, reference papers. There's also our student activity center, which we call it SAC for short, and it's basically like our canteen. So we also have a lot of events. So for example, the year one Pathfinder event, there's quite a lot of activities to choose from. So there's three categories. So number one, we have the ones in the Singapore Polytechnic, and then there's also the more okay. There is also like robotics. Those those require you for coding or like building stuff. As well as the more practical ones, the ones that you can use to live in the next few years. So you have cooking, animations, ceramics, sewing, as well as your manga anime workshop. We also have values in action events every annually for each year. Um, VIA heads and deputy heads. So basically, let me just explain the class com system. So we have a class committee in each class, class in ACSI. So we have the chairman, the vice chairman, the VIA head, the deputy head. We have the key master, who's usually also called the secretary, as well as the one that cares for the injuries. I forgot the formal name for him. So basically, the VIA head and the deputy head in class com will have to schedule with PCTs the activities for elderly. This is usually during the term 3 period, and that the classmates as well as those the rest of the class committee, they have to take part in the planning as well as the conducting of activities. So now for 2021 is online due to COVID, and I believe it's gonna be online next year too. So there will be exercises, arts and craft, depending on what your VIA head and deputy head decides on. Okay, so here's some of the pictures. I do know that I've blurred out some of the names to maintain privacy, but so over here we were videotaping some of the performances, the music performances for the elderly, and we also got them to paint rocks for our third session, I think. So actually I am the VI deputy head, so I was also in charge of the planning and conducting of the activities. So we also have house events, but it's been cancelled this year. I'm not sure about last year, but probably next year there will be. But if COVID worsens, then there probably wouldn't. So usually there will be three house events. So number one with the swim meets, the cross country, as well as the athletics. So in ACSI we have 8 houses. So once you join ACSI, I think you will be separated randomly into different houses. So we have TKK, TCT. These are all the initials of people who have contributed a lot to ACSI. So we have TKK, TCT, Odom, which is our founder, LSG, SVM, GHK, which is my house, Doben, as well as CKS. So there will also be a level. There will also be a year one, year two, year three, year four level two actually representatives that will be in charge of the finding people that will participate in these events and also facilitating the house events. Okay, ACSI also has a safe environment. So, like I said before, we have a demerit point system. Our phones must be locked away in lockers during school hours. And even if you have one demerit point, like I said earlier, any awards given to you will be taken away. And that demerit points will be issued as and when needed. There is also quite a strict policy for bullying cases in ACSI, which are handled in a strict and timely manner. And it's also very easy to report bullies at Stop It at AC, which is a program where you can report your name, your class, and the bully's name, the bully's class. So just in case you witness any of such cases or are the victim of such cases. So now I'll be explaining the challenges that you might face in ACSI. So number one is overcommitting. Um, for those who aren't really proactive in leadership positions, this probably won't affect you that much. But for me, it affected me a bit. So, ACSI offers quite a lot of positions. For example, class committee, prefectorial board. student council, which is for year 5 and year 6s, as well as house representatives, and you also have opportunities to help your friends, your classmates. So and furthermore, it's also your schedule is also very tight with courseworks. So for me, I had to step down from my house representative position. I was chosen there at the start of the year. Then after that, I went for prefectorial board. So I had to cancel my position. So after joining the PB, which was very troublesome. So my advice to that would be you try to stick to 2 to 4 positions, including your CCAs, which is 2. So that you are passionate about, and just stick to them, and use or just have resilience to when you're doing them, and just focus on them instead of going for like house representatives, class committee, prefectorial board, as well as your CCAs. So all of these responsibilities is good, but if you have too much, you'll overcommit and you'll feel yourself swamped with a lot of stuff that you have to complete, and you don't have the time to complete them. Another thing is poor time management, which is very important. Like I said earlier, if you do not have a sense of urgency, you will feel yourself swamped with courseworks. I would suggest that you create timetables to better organize your time. For me, I use ClickUp. This is not an ad, but it's not a timetable, but you can write in all your tasks, your courseworks, your subtasks, so what you have to do in your coursework, and also complete them before the deadline. And also you should identify your courseworks that are urgent and complete them first. And most importantly, do not procrastinate. Here are also some of the suggested books that I've read, and I think it's worthy of reading. So number one is The Silent Patient. I won't read through the general description, but you can read through them. And so for my review to it is that it's quite confusing. If because there is 2 timelines, I won't spoil it, but your readers must have a good comprehension skills, which you have to understand the entire plot. But overall, it's quite a good book with unexpected twists. So another thing is The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. It's because it's written from a point of view from Christopher Boone, who has Asperger's syndrome, which is like ADHD. So some of the parts may seem to be unnecessary and boring, but this is logical because the book is written from his perspective, and hence he'll be noting down all the details that he focuses on. And also the Gone series. So my review to it is that it's overall a deep and well-developed plot, but because it's a really long series and you have to spend a lot of time to read it, the writer takes quite a long time to develop some parts of the series, and that some of it may be unnecessary. So another thing, last but not least, The Diary of a Wimpy Kid is a classic book about the life of an American kid, and I strongly recommend you buy the entire series and read through it. Okay, to summarize, so in today's sharing, I've introduced myself, I've talked about the reasons to go to ACSI, I've explained the IB program, I've shared the CCAs offered and my CCAs, what I enjoyed at ACSI, the challenges and how to face them, as well as I've recommended some good reads. So thank you. I've come to the end of my presentation. I will now like to invite back Ruoxuan to introduce our next speaker for today's sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, Zhihe, for your sharing. 谢谢Zhihe的分享。那现在我来简单总结一下他刚刚分享的内容。首先，他介绍了英华自主学校包括 O 水准和 IB Program 两个课程设置。IB课程除了要考试以外，也很注重于 Project Works 和创造力，而且也可以自由选择你自己喜欢的科目。同时，他也分享了他喜欢英华自主的原因，比如他们学校像个大家庭，考试也没有那么大的压力，因为在中医时30%到50%的成绩都来自于那些 courseworks。他们学校要求每个人都有2个 CCA， 学校环境也安全良好。最后Zhihe也跟我们分享了他是如何面对中学的挑战，那就是要学会好时间控制。另外Zhihe在分享中提到了几个链接，稍后我们会分享到微信群和 Telegram 群里， Additionally, the few links which Zhihe mentioned will be shared in the WeChat and Telegram group chat. Thank you once again for our presentation. You can take a rest now. Next, we have Joy Chen from Methodist Girls School to share her experience in her secondary school. She was previously from St. Hilda's Primary School, and she likes reading, gaming, and sailing. Her CCA is Sophia Society, which is an rhetorical club, and they do public speaking and debating. 接下来，我们有来自美一美女校的陈盼熙同学来分享她的中学生活。她小学就读于圣希尔达小学。她喜欢阅读、打游戏和帆船。她的 CCA 是 Sophia Society. Now, let's welcome Joy to share her presentation.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joy Chen, and I'm from Methodist Girls School, Secondary. Today, I'll be sharing more about my school as well as why you should come to it. Here's some facts about me. I was from St. Hilda's Primary School, and I came to MGS via the DSA program. I enjoy reading, gaming, and sailing. My CCA is the Sophia Society, which is a public speaking club. I'll now be talking more about our school's identity and culture. First, I'll start off with our heritage. MGS was founded in 1887 by Australian missionary Sophia Blackmore. It was started to provide girls with an education, and it started with 9 Tamil girls in a small shop house on Short Street. MGS has a really strong school spirit, and upon admission, students are placed into 4 houses in MGS. They are Blackmore, Jackson, Lee, and Olsen. Houses often compete with each other in school events to help pupils and teachers bond. We also have to wear house t-shirts on Friday. Now I'll be talking more about our school attire. The school uniform consists of a sailor suit as seen on the bottom picture. There's a pinafore, a blouse, a school pin, and white shoes. Students also have to braid or bamboo their hair once it's long enough. MGS has pretty strict rules on attire, and we give out like demerit points if you don't wear the correct attire on correct days. So you have to be responsible and wear the correct attire, especially on Fridays when you have to wear house t-shirts. Now I'll be talking more about our school's unique facilities. This is the student cap space, and it's 1 level above the canteen. It's great for studying, and one interesting fact about it is that it has chairs donated from the McDonald's that used to be around our school. This is our library, and it's really peaceful with a wide variety of books. It's great for studying, and it has air conditioning, which is really cool. This is our swimming pool, and swim lessons are conducted here. We also have a poolside cafe, which is the school cafe. It's beside the pool, and it's open after school as well. There's also discounted prices for teachers and students of MGS. This is the MGS field, and it's the field beside the pool. And many PE lessons, camps, and programs are often conducted here. Here are some more of our sports facilities. PE lessons are often conducted here as well. It's also the venue for certain CCAs. On the top left is our sports complex. On the top right is our tennis court. The bottom left is our dance studio. The bottom right is the squash courts. Now I'll be talking more about our CCAs. Firstly, I'll be talking about my CCA, which is the Fire Society. It used to be a debate club, and we practice public speaking skills. Some facts about it is that it's a really low commitment CCA as it ends at 5, unlike many of the other CCAs which end at 6. We also have really fun birthday celebrations and pizza parties throughout the year. The events and programs we conduct here can greatly boost your portfolio despite our low commitment. Here are some of the events we've conducted this year. Firstly is the Shark Tank program. It was inspired by the American Shark Tank show, and we have to pitch a social cause to the judges, and the most convincing project pitch receives money to carry out the project from the judges. For example, my group decided to, our social cause was to help out the orphanage. So we wanted to raise money in order to pack care packs for the children there, as well as to go to the orphanage and read them stories. Secondly, we also have the debate program. We just practice some basic debate skills in this program. However, we couldn't hold that many programs this year because of the COVID-19 situation, and everything was slowed down and had to be carried out online. The most bottom left picture is just how a typical day in my CCA looks like. It's in an air-conditioned room. And the second picture in the middle is a birthday celebration we held in April. And the last two pictures are just some scenes of what happened during our Shark Tank presentation. Here are some more of the CCAs in MGS. We also, because we are a mission school, we have a Christian club called the Salt Club, and they carry out Christian events for the school, like they sing chapel songs in the morning sometimes. Here are some of the programs MGS offers. Firstly, it's the GC O-Levels program, and then there's the IB Diploma program. For the O-Levels program, you spend 4 years in MGS, then choose either JC or Polytechnic. There is a possibility of transferring to the IB track in year 3. The IB Diploma program is 6 years, with 4 years in MGS and the last 2 years in ACSI. It's graded based on 7 points, with 7 being the highest. Here are some of our school's curriculum and events. Firstly is STEAM, the STEAM program. It consists of science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and the arts. It's basically STEM, but with an extra added component, the arts. We also have music and arts elective programs, and these are for students who have high level of interests in music or art. It's conducted both during and after school. We also have education and career guidance, which are talks and sessions throughout the year that teach you more about yourself and your interests. We also have SBA, which is a program unique to MGS for the O-level track. It stands for Sophia Blackmore Academy, and it was modeled after the GEP program. It's for O-level students whose PSLE score is exceeding of 250 or academically outstanding students in year 2, in Tech 2. Once you get into Sophia Blackmore Academy, you can have the option of transferring to the IB track in year 3. The DICE is a thinking to our school users, and it's design thinking to develop the MGS student in areas of design, innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship. Here are some of the unique classes in the IB track. Firstly, we have GEL, which stands for Godliness, Excellence, and Love. It's basically CC and FTGP from primary school, but more in depth. GEL classes often include character and leadership, pastoral care and career guidance, sense and sexuality, and some other aspects. We also have PTK, and it's a philosophy class, and we are taught to use ethics to solve problems. We also weigh consequences using ethics to approach an issue, which, Finally, we have IS, and it stands for Independent Studies. We learn about research and inquiry skills, and we also learn about oral and presentation skills. It's also largely about problem solving. Lastly, this is our school's VIA. For my class, our proposal was to raise funds in order to create care packs for the Hospice Care Association. So firstly, our class, we handmade these products like clay keychain rainbows, as well as tote bags with abstract art on them. And we also have painted CDs, as well as much more. So basically, we spend our time in school and also during the holidays to make these products. But because of the COVID situation, we can't pass it around in school, so we have to mail it to the buyers who supported our VIA project. Now I'll be talking about how examinations are conducted in MGS. For both the O-level track and the IB track, we have weekly WAs. These are weekly weighted assessments with small weightage. Because of these WAs, we have no mid-years. These WAs allow you to plan your studying so you don't have to rush all your studying right before the mid-years. Like many of the other schools, we also have end of years. End of years have a wider test scope and a higher weightage. We also have a lot of project work and coursework. Projects have varying weightage, with some very high and some very low. And because it's often group work, teamwork and responsibility is very important. This is mostly because peer evaluation will be part of your final score as well. Thus, you should establish good relationships with your classmates. Here's a bit about what I enjoyed at MGS. For MGS, we have weekly swimming lessons, which I feel is really cool, and it gives me time off to relax from our studying and daily classes. As a mission school, we also share daily encouraging devotion from the Bible. CCA sessions are also really fun for me, and we also have 45 minutes of recess time and 20 minutes of break. Moreover, we have fun workshops and classes organized for us throughout the year. There's also a bubble tea shop near the school. Some really cool and interesting programs our school has held is Blue and Yellow Day and Passerella Day, where we get to dress up in blue and yellow because it's the school's colors, and Passerella Day, where we get to dress up as movie characters. Here are some of my favorite books, games, and music. I really enjoyed the Divergent trilogy, and it's about a girl named Triss and many other people who are sorted into different sections based on their abilities and interests. And it's quite thrilling, and I find it really interesting, and I really like the writing style as well. I also really enjoyed the Mysterious Benedict Society trilogy, as well as the Scythe trilogy. The Scythe trilogy is about in a world where everything is perfect, so there's the problem of overpopulation. Thus, people called Scythes are appointed to kill people every once in a while, so they can continue, so people in the world can continue living without hunger and overpopulation. I really like John Green books and Leah Thomas books. I really enjoyed Paper Towns by John Green. I also really enjoy the Shadowhunters series by Cassandra Clare. You can search up the Mortal Instruments if you want to read this series, and it also has a Netflix show. Here are some of the games I play. I enjoy playing Scrabble, Mobile Legends, Words with Friends, and Boggle. Scrabble, Words with Friends, and Boggle are word games, and you can find them online, and I think it really challenges your thinking, and it's a word game, so it may help you improve your vocabulary as well. Here are just some of the music artists I like and genres I listen to. Thank you. May we now invite all the speakers back to the stage.
Thank you, Joy, for your sharing. 谢谢 Joy 的分享。那现在我来简单总结一下他刚刚分享的内容。他介绍了他学校的历史文化以及各种设施，让我们看到了美丽的美营美校园。同时，他也分享了他们学校的 CCA 和各种传统活动。从 Joy 的介绍中，我们了解到了美营美直通车的学生读完4年后，最后2年是到英华读 IB 课程。Once again, thank you, Joy, for your sharing. Now, let's welcome Zhihe back. Now, we will have our Q&A session. We have collected many different questions from the WeChat group and the live stream, and we have selected some of the questions which we will be answering now. 我们在微信群中搜集了很多问题，现场也有一些提问。现在我们来回答这些问题。第一问题 ，ACSI 和 MGS 的日常生活是如何的？中医会分快慢班吗？ So, what is a typical day for ACSI and MGS? Does the secondary one separate students based on PSLE marks? This question is for Joy and Zhihe. Joy can answer first.
A typical day in MGS would be that you have to reach school before 7:50 on most of the days, and there's a 10-minute snack break as well as a 14-minute recess break in between. School release is from 2:15 to 2:30. And yes, MGS does separate students based on their PSLE score. In year 1, there's the SBA program, and people who score above 250 are in those 2 SBA classes. And for the rest of the classes, you are sorted mostly based on your academic strengths, like English, Math, Science, and Chinese based on your PSLE score. Thank you.
Zhihe, it's your turn to answer right now.
Okay, yeah, all right. Okay, so just to apologize, because today we don't have much time, so we really couldn't do English and Chinese translate. So, but for me, my next few Q&As, it will be in Chinese. So yeah, apologies. So 在英华自主，我们是7:45去学校，但是星期三的时候会是晚1个小时，也就是8:45。我之前有说过，课是一般都是40分钟到1个小时，然后当科学的课的时候，实验课的时候会是1个小时20分钟，我们会去实验室做实验，然后大概星期一、星期二和星期4是2:20，因为我们学校是不同的年级会有不同的放学时间，我们是中一是星期一、星期二、星期三，星期一、星期二、星期4是2:25放学，然后星期3是2:45放学，然后星期5就放学比较早一点，1点钟放学，然后之后我们就会去我们的各种各样的课外活动，比如说 CCA 什么的，对我的那个橄榄球是星期一和星期3，然后我的童子军是星期5。
第二个问题是在中学的名校中， 大概有多少是来自普通邻里小学的学生 ？So in famous secondary schools, how many are from neighborhood primary schools? This question is for Joy and Zhihe. So Joy can answer first, then Zhihe.
For MG Secondary, around half of our school student population is from MG Primary because of affiliation, and they only need to score 220, I think, or 230 to get into MGS Secondary in the O-level track. However, for the rest of the students, I think it's around 50% neighborhood schools and 50% from elite schools, as far as my class is concerned.
Then Zhihe.
Thank you.
OK，那个我们学校是，其实很多我们学校是从我们的 ACS 小学和ACS Junior 来的，所以大概一半的是从ACS 小学里面的来的，因为他们的 PSLE 是可以减分的，但是大概一半的是从盈利学校，当然盈利学校和其他的名校了。但是当然我们大多数很多真的大家都认识彼此，因为都是从一样的小学来的一些小学，所以其实 ACSI 进去那些盈利学校和其他名校进去其实相对比较难找朋友啊，认识对方，但是还是比较容易交朋友的啦。所以在我的班里面是大概30个人，大概有20个是从一些小学来的，然后大多数都是从 GEP 来的，然后另外10个就是从名校或者盈利学校来的。谢谢。
第3个问题 ，IB 考试会比 A level 更难准备吗？你为什么会选择 IB 学校呢？这个是给Zhihe回答的。So is the IB exam harder than A levels? Why do you choose an IB school?
OK，因为 我现在不是在IB 里面，其实我们现在是属于在 IP 里面，也就是直通车里面，大概过4年之后我们才能进 IB， 所以IB 的考试情况我不太确定，然后我也不在 O level 里面，所以我也不太确定。但是为什么我选 IB 是因为我已经说过了，就是说IB 学校比较偏重于考试以及各种各样的那个专题作业等等，所以你需要懂得如何管理时间啊，然后如何安排你的组员啊什么的，所以其实最终选 IB 还是 O level 是你的选择了，但是就是说我已经进行过比较 ，IB 是考试和专题作业兼具，然后 O level 是全部算分的都是考试。谢谢。
第4问题，中学的学习方式与小学有哪些比较大的差异？对小六准备考试的学弟学妹，你有什么建议吗？ What are the differences in the study methods between primary and secondary school? Do you have any suggestions to help your juniors? This question is for Joy.
For one, there's more coursework, group work, and weekly WAs. So you just need to manage your time really well and also try to have little activities planned outside because our schedule is pretty tight, and because of these coursework and weekly WAs, you don't have much time for activities and tuition outside for school. Teamwork is also really important because of the group work and coursework. Thank you.
第5题，请问中一的科学课是如何安排物理、化学和生物课呢？每周一是一科还是每个 term 一科呢？ So for secondary 1 science, how do the teachers arrange the classes for physics, chemistry, and biology? Does the topic change by weeks and terms? This question is for Zhihe.
OK， 我们这边是科学是分两种，一个是 life science，一个是 physical science。所以life science 会是就是有点像那种生物，然后 physical science 就相当于物理以及化学。所以我们这里是 OK，我们这里是有两个星期两个不同的，所以一个是week A 和 week B，所以week A 和 week B 之间的那个科学课 life science 和 physical science 的课是大概比例是2:3，week A 2:3，然后 week B 3:2。所以其实我们这个不是凭每个 term 会是不同的科学，而是每个星期会有不同的。所以在我们学校就是大概是这样分的，科学是这样分的。谢谢。
第6问题，中学需要补习吗 ？IB 的补习课容易找吗 ？So, does secondary school need tuition? Is it easy to find tuitions for IB schools? This question is for both Joy and Zhihe. Joy can go first, then Zhihe.
For year 1, it's quite manageable, so not much tuition is needed. Just manage your time well and also listen attentively in class. Lastly, because secondary schools are often paced differently with different topics and test scopes, so it's definitely better to spend the weekly 2 or more hours revising for WAs and weak topics than to go for tuition.
Okay, 我们这边因为我说过我们这里有课外活动，2个课外活动，所以其实时间已经占用了课外活动已经占用了我们大量的时间，所以补习课我觉得是不必要的，因为本来就没有时间去给补习课。我自己是没有补习的，因为而且是中医的教的那些教材都是比较容易的，所以你并不需要一个并不需要补习课来帮助你理解这些教材。但是如果你在这一项在这一科有弱点的话，比如说数学，因为我们数学老师是比较要求大概全班的同学都完全理解教的所有的内容，所以他会要求一些学生大概在 term 3的时候留下来补课，但是一般上都是这些教材都很简单，而且占用的时间课外活动占用我的时间已经很多了，所以并不需要补习。
Question 7， 第7题 ，DSA 录取的学生和正常录取的学生分班上课有什么区别吗 ？So, are there any differences between a DSA student and a normal student during classes? So, this question is for all of us, and Zhihe can answer first, then Joy, then me.
OK，我们 DSA 也是看你的 PSLE 的成绩的。比如说我的这个班是他们称之为 SPG， 就有点像 GEP 的那种班，是看那些 PSLE score 比较高的那些人。我们班上有2个人是 DSA 的，所以其实如果你 DSA 的话，你的成绩非常好的话，你很有可能可以分到 IB 班 ，sorry，然后如果你的成绩不理想，但是可以进来。大概因为 DSA 大概会给你减分20分吧，那是之前的我们那个考试制度，你还是会被分到 O level 的班，所以最终也是要靠你的最终的成绩。当然最终你的 DSA 只是保证你会进来这个学校，但是并不保证你会进 IB 还是 O level。
Joy, you can answer.
For me, I DSA with English to the IB track. So, if for certain academic DSA, for certain academic DSA opportunities, it does determine your track. Like for my track, no matter your PSLE score, you still go to IB track for like if you DSA English like me. But if you DSA to the O level, they there's not like a guaranteed chance that you can go to the IB track because they reserve it for other students. But if there's a space there, let's say you did say tennis, and you want to go to MGS, but because it only grants you a spot in MGS, it does not determine like your track. So if there's students in IB and it's already full, you can't go to IB even if your score hits the cutoff point, I think. So for DSA students, there's sometimes CCA commitments that you do have to commit to, especially for the sports. But for my DSA English, I think for like academic ones, then you go to certain classes. Like my class is 1G for this year, and 1G is the English class. So in my class, around, I think a quarter of the students out of 30 people are MGDSA students, English. And yes, there's certain commitments as well, like there's programs that you do have to take part in, which are made optional to the other students. However, I think it's also really good because there's certain opportunities offered to us as well to train us in English because it's our DSA subject. Thank you.
Okay, so I use table tennis for my DSA, so I can only guarantee that for sports and for my table tennis CCA, I don't think there's not much difference between DSA and a non-DSA student, as I mean, like for DSA student, it just means that for sports, it just means that you are guaranteed into the CCA for the school, so you cannot really choose any other CCA. And it means that if you compare a non-DSA to a sports DSA student, it like sometimes you need to like take more time out for your training, but other than that, there's really not much difference. Okay, 第8题 ，RGS 的乒乓球 CCA 是不是只留给 DSA 进校的？其他人有兴趣能加入吗？ So for RGS table tennis CCA, do they only allow those who use DSA to get in, or can those who are interested join? So I will answer this question. So as I mentioned, I'm from RGS and my CCA is table tennis. So if you want to join RGS table tennis CCA, you don't need to be DSA to get in, as I have a teammate who used her marks to get in, but still like use her skills to get in table tennis. So you don't have to be DSA, but you do need to have the necessary skills that a team requires for you to get in, because if you're only interested and you do not have the skills, you cannot get in. Yeah. Then your key. I mean, it's not really a question. 所以刚才Zhihe和Joy 都推荐了他们喜欢的书，那我现在也推荐一下我自己喜欢的书。So just now Zhihe and Joy all recommended their favorite books. So now I'll also be recommending some of my favorite English books. So the first one is The Young Elite, which is a series of 2 books. You can search it up if you're interested. So it's basically like there's a sickness or a fever going around that like kills people, or if they survived, they get like, you know, strange and mysterious powers and on their journey, and that's all. You can go search it out. And then books by Rick Riordan, which he's a very famous writer. Most of you might have heard about him. So he wrote some of the more famous books like Percy Jackson, Magnus Chase, Heroes of Olympus, and many more. So the last 2 is One of Us is Lying, which is a series, and then followed by A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which is also a series. So this 2 is more of a mystery novel, and there's like more of a how do you say it? Detective. It's like a murder series and stuff. Yeah. So now we have extra questions from the live chat. So for Zhihe, So Juncheng from Henry Park Primary School asked Zhihe, so how can I become a Prefect Exco member in Henry Park?
Okay, so I'll answer this in Chinese, in English, sorry. So, in Henry Park, at around, I think primary 3 or primary 4, there will be a prefect selection. I don't really recall how they selected you. I believe it was, I believe they asked during assembly, and so you have to like raise your hand and stuff. I'm really not sure. But then after that, once you've noted down your name, you go back to your class. So there will be a designated prefect selection camp. Not a camp, but a selection process. So basically you have to go for a simulation. There will be a self introduction, and then after that a simulation, so you have to respond to different like situations. For example, someone calling someone stupid, or like those situations that you might meet in your real life. And so after that, you once you're selected, you'll be notified, so you'll be given this badge. So at around primary 5 or primary 6, in the middle of the year, or the nearer to the end of the year, you will be uh, notified whether you go into the exco. This is usually reliant on how you behave, your report card, the teacher's recommendations, and and their remarks to you, as well as your results. So, and then after that, you'll be given a tie and etc. At the end of your primary 6 prefect life. So, like um it's quite the selection process, like I said, it's kind of like ACSI. It's quite tedious, but if you put your mind to it, you will usually be selected, because they can see that you have the passion to be part of the prefectorial board. Thank you.
Okay, another question for Zhihe. So, so Juncheng got 4 and 5 stars for Rice this year and the top grade in his class. And I'm not sure what he meant, but he asked, do you know more details and how does he apply in the process? Like,
Does he mean the prefect process? Okay, so just to explain the background information for Rice, is our school, we call it the Rice value. So we have respect, integrity, care, and excellence. So these are the 4 criteria. So in the report card, the most you can get is 5 stars, and that you also be nominated for each for one value. You can be nominated for one value for each term. So okay, so when you get 4 to 5 stars, it's already very good. So for prefects, so from your normal student to a prefect, they will obviously be looking at this, as well as the teacher. Most importantly, the teacher's remarks to you. For example, there will also be like a very good or like excellent remark for your behavior. And then also you also then from your normal prefect to exco, they'll also be looking at your teacher's remarks, as well as your past behaviors. So I'm not really sure. I don't remember how they chose us, but I think they just called you out if you raise your hand if you want to be, and they will notify you once you've been chosen after the prefect selection process. Thank you.
Okay, lastly, we have one more question for Joy. So someone asked, do they have to be Christian to enter MGS?
No, you do not need to be a Christian to be in MGS. However, because we are a Christian school, so we have a lot of Christian events, lessons that are often based on Christian values. We also sing the school song, which is Christian based, and we share devotions from the Bible as well. So because it's a Bishop school and our curriculum revolves around Christian values, that's just what you have to take note of, and you do have to respect some of the principles as well.
Okay, so that will be all for our session today. And if you want to know more, you can go to our WeChat or Telegram group to ask your questions. 由于时间的关系，我们今天的问题就问到这里了。如果您还有其他问题想跟我们讨论，可以到我们的微信群或者 Telegram 群里继续讨论。Next, let me announce the next Miao Meets sharing session next week that is held by students from St. Joseph's Institution, Raffles Girls' School, Huazhong Institution, and Raffles Institution。接下来，请允许我预告一下下周六我们第2场喵米中学生活分享会，会有来自圣若瑟书院、莱佛士女中、华侨中学和莱佛士书院的4个同学为我们带来精彩的分享。Thank you all for participating in our live stream today and have a great week ahead. 我们的分享会到此结束，感谢您来参加我们的直播。您可以关注我们的公众号或者加入微信群和 Telegram 群来参与更多讨论。祝大家周末愉快，拜拜。
拜拜。
拜。
离开。